Hi girls, this is Miss Gaska. In today's video, we're going to go over English 2 Semester 2 Week 2, Activity 3.5, Father and Son. Our learning targets for this activity are to analyze how a complex character interacts with other characters, and to analyze how a complex character's motivation advances the plot. So in order to complete this activity, you need to be reading chapters 1 through 4 and using a double entry journal to record details from the text that illustrate Okonkwo's character. So for your double entry journal, I created a video to show you how to do that, and I will be posting it alongside this video with your week's assignments. I'll also be posting the PDF for Things Fall Apart so that you can make sure that you're reading those first 4 chapters before you go on with this assignment, because you won't be able to accurately answer the questions unless you've read those chapters. Alright, let's continue. Comparing and contrasting characters. So as you read, use the organizer below or create one of your own to compare and contrast Okonkwo and his father. Record facts and details about both. So I'm going to get you started with one fact about Okonkwo and one fact about his father, and then one fact about both. So to begin, I'm going to say that Okonkwo is very strong, hard-headed, and responsible, because it talks about how he overthrew Umolfa, the tiger, I think, and it talked about how he was a really hard worker and really believed in making sure he took care of his family, including his multiple wives, and how he didn't really respect the way that his father had done things. So that brings us to his father. So his father is said to be kind of lazy. He was kind of easygoing. He was very talented at music. He was very generous and giving, like he would give away his yams to other people who came to visit, or he would give wine to whoever visited. He was a very good host whenever somebody would visit. He wasn't particularly hardworking, though. He would get rid of money almost as quickly as he had it. So that's something about his father. So something about both of them is, well, they're both Igbo. So they're both from the Igbo tribe. They're in the same family. You know, things like that. So continue to add things to this chart that you noticed besides just the ones that I gave you, okay? So as you continue, let's look at this section. Authors use motifs for many reasons in their writing, including establishing themes and moods. Achebe uses the motif of tensions between fathers and sons in his novel. Review the facts and details about Okonkwo and his father that you have recorded. How do these similarities and differences create tension between the two? Explain how Okonkwo's father serves as a foil to his son. So you're going to need to look at this side where it gives you the definition of motif and the definition of foil. So a motif is a recurring, meaning it comes again and again and again, image, theme, symbol, character type, or subject that becomes a unifying element in an artistic work. So for instance, if you keep seeing an eagle in the novel, and the eagle is acting differently depending on the circumstances, then the eagle would be a motif in that novel. Then you have foil. So a foil is a character whose traits contrast with and therefore highlight the traits of another. So basically, the character is like the opposite of your main character. They may have a few overlaps here or there in order to make them balanced with each other, but for the most part, their personalities are very different from one another. So one of the ways that Okonkwo is a foil to his father is that he's hardworking and his father is lazy. But please continue to find your own reasons why he's a foil. So you have these 2 parts of the question to answer. First of all, you have to answer, how do these similarities and differences create tension between the two? And then the second question you have to answer is explain how Okonkwo's father serves as a foil to his son. So how Okonkwo and his father are foils to one another. So now let's look at this section that says language and writer's craft, active and passive voice. So sentences can be one or two things. They could be active or they could be passive. So active voice occurs when the subject of the sentence performs the action. So it emphasizes the person or thing that does the action. So in the following sentence, Okonkwo performs the action of throwing. So in the end, Okonkwo, that's our subject, the person who's doing the action, threw the cat. So threw is the action, okay? And I'm going to highlight that in a different color just to make that clear. Now, most of the time you should use active voice in your writing to enhance clarity and avoid wordiness. In other words, use active voice unless there is a compelling reason to use passive voice. Now, passive voice occurs when the subject of the sentence receives the action. So for example, passive voice always uses a form of to be with the past participle of the verb. For example, the following sentence uses a form of to be, was, and the past participle of throw, thrown. The cat was thrown by Okonkwo. So here we have the subject of the cat. He's receiving the action of being thrown. So I'm going to make this yellow to show that it's my subject. And then he was thrown. And I hope you guys like the color coding technique that I'm using. I really wanted to draw attention to the different pieces that I teach you each time. So, let's continue. The cat was thrown by Okonkwo versus Okonkwo threw the cat. So, if you want to emphasize the receiver of the action, you use passive voice. But if you want to emphasize the person who did the action, you would use passive voice. Or active voice. So I'm going to give you a couple more examples. My sister gave me a birthday gift. So here we have my sister is the subject, or sister is the subject, and then the verb is gave. So the subject is doing the action of giving. So we know that that is in, so our verdict is that it's in active voice. This present was given to me by my sister. So if I want to emphasize the present instead of my sister, I'm going to write it like this. So in this case, the subject is present. Then we have was given is our verb. And then does the subject of present do the verb of giving? No, it's receiving or being received. So in this case, it would be passive voice. By the way, I don't know if you know this about the word verdict, but it's broken down into two syllables, ver and dict. Here we have ver, which means truth. If you look into the root meaning of the word, or the part of word. So dict means say. So the verdict is to say the truth. Anyway, practice. So what you're going to do is identify the sentences below that are in passive voice and rewrite them in active voice. So you're going to look for which ones where the subject receives the action and the ones where the action is done by the subject. And then you're going to rewrite them to make sure that they're all in active voice, which is the preferred way of writing a sentence unless you have a very good reason not to. So, last but not least, writing to sources, explanatory text. Your job is to write an explanatory paragraph that answers the question, how is Okonkwo's character influenced by his complex relationship with his father? Be sure to include a topic sentence that compares or contrasts the two characters, Okonkwo and his father. Use specific details and quotations from the novel as support, and use active voice. So make sure you're hitting all three of these things within your paragraph. And that's all for this activity. I hope that this was helpful, and I will see you again in the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care.